Hey guys, this is Ray. Welcome to T.H.O.R, aka the House of R.E.P, my podcast with my R.E.P Knights, where I review movies, TV shows, tech, and gaming, whatever I feel is fun to talk about. Today we are talking about Shaker Run, a really fun action kind of like precursor to like films like Fast and Furious and stuff, about a stunt driver who gets hired by a scientist to smuggle a virus across the New Zealand landscape while being chased by a sinister government. So defo check this pod out, it's quite a fun film. I love our intro. Welcome back to T.H.O.R. So I'm joined with ZZ. Say hi to everyone.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the House of R.E.P. Today we're talking about a lovely little quaint action film, a little New Zealand film that we have grown up watching. We know this film quite well, and it was something that inspired us when we were really young, and we'd like to talk about it today with you guys.
The Kiwis can make good films, man. I'm really surprised about this film. The way that we've seen the film, though, has never really been the true interpretation of what they shot, because I feel that they shot in 35 or 16 mil digital intermediate, not digital intermediate, like full intermediate film stock, right?
Well, it's like old school.
Yeah, and what it's missing is a digital intermediate where someone scanned the movie. So what I am a bit kind of like bummed out about is I'm never really truly seeing the film. Yeah, it was
80s film.
It was an 80s film. I think it came out the day I was born, man, or something like that.
I think it came out just after.
Yeah, just after that, because like it's a movie that was made before when I was like tiny. The way we ended up seeing it is Mum just taped it on VHS,
on classic VHS.
You know, the classic, old school format before. For those of you who don't know what VHS was, just Google it. Then you'll know.
You'll find out.
Basically, it looked even worse on that, than what I've seen it, because I've seen like what looks like a Betacam negative or true like I don't know, like a final screener.
Even a Betacam would have been a bit better.
Yeah, Betacam hold a lot of
there was
detail.
Only a Laserdisc. I'd love to see that.
I think there's a DVD somewhere. I don't know. I haven't looked.
We'll find a DVD for it.
But it needs a good transfer. I heard Netflix owned the rights to the film, so they must have the original stock or access to the stock somewhere, wherever it is. I hope they preserve this film, because from a Kiwi perspective, for the New Zealand film audience, it's a good film, man. It's really nice. Now, Cliff Robertson, he is a really cool kind of like. He's just like one of those wicked. He's such a great actor.
He's charismatic.
Charismatic. He's got a great presence. You're balancing on the phone in. Is he phoning this role in, or is he actually doing it? But he's playing it in a certain straight way.
Yeah.
He's playing this character as this sort of like cowboy kind of stunt driver. Ex-crop duster kind of guy who likes to go fast. Had to probably retire because of health reasons from main racing, but does all the stunt work. Film opens up with the car doing donuts. So Shaker is the car. The name of the car is called Shaker, and it's got its own character. It's quite a fierce Trans Am, Pontiac Trans Am. Looks similar to Smokey and the Bandits Trans Am era, but slightly heavily modified. This car for stock style, off-road, dirt style.
Racing,
derby racing, kind of things, because it's a stunt car that can take jumps.
Well, that was a kind of popular thing even in Australia at that time, because they didn't have access to like big fun sponsorship racing. They had their own kind of touring cars and stuff like that, and they had stock car racing and stuff like that. Because
I never lived in New Zealand. I don't know the intricacies of that and what they were up to, but and it's before our time, but it's kind of smart, isn't it? Because it's like almost an American cast that have flown all the way over to New Zealand to shoot on the Cheapy Cheap. It also feels like there's a bit of English actors in there too.
Yeah, a couple of English actors.
It's a very international cast.
Or they could be like Aussie actors playing English.
There's a couple of highlights, and you'll be putting this up in the video package, of the YouTube version of this podcast. But you'll see that there's a lot of elements in the films, that are now staples in new films. So you've got, huge, wicked bypass kind of highway, country road chases, Vista chases, wicked bottlenose, like POV shots, and this was done with cameras that were big, bulky, and difficult.
Huge.
So the cinematography and stunt team I have to commend, because they've got a lot of gags and setups in the film that are amazing. The car itself, the stunt driving's amazing.
Yeah, that's stunt driving is top notch.
Also the villain is like a relentless enforcer for the government, right? And he's played by this Asian actor. He's doing stuff like parkour, parkour before parkour was like a thing. So the film's sort of like a fusion between like a Fast and Furious movie, Vanishing Point, Gone in 60 Seconds, Need for Speed, it's got all these kind of elements to it.
Actually.
It's really good. I mean, if
smoky.
If I could ever just like resurrect it, or like just take the nostalgia of it and then bring it back as a kind of quasi sequel, I'd probably just get the actor who played the protege, bring him back as an old guy, and he's still got Shaker in his garage, and then he has to do something new with some other kid, he has to help some kid or something.
His mechanic, the younger guy in this film, is called Casey, and he's played by musician Leif Garrett. And Leif Garrett is obviously well known in the music industry.
So musician / actor Leif Garrett, he was like
very young Leif Garrett.
Yeah, I'm sure he was like a heartthrob to ladies back in the day.
Of course.
Women chased him and stuff. So
it's a bit like how we were talking about the other day. We were talking about the Wraith and stuff, and how young Charlie Sheen is in that.
The Wraith is one of my all-time favorite films. Man.
So it's kind of funny because we discovered Wraith after this film, so we knew this film first.
Yeah.
And then we discovered Wraith through friends and stuff, a good friend, and we just glued to that film as well. So these kind of 80s had a lot of splurge of kind of noir techno music smashed together with super fast car action scenes and stuff like that. So it's really a high time.
So go into the setup of the film. There's some kind of designer virus, kind of like Bellerophon and
a bit like Mission Impossible
2. Like MI2, where you had Bellerophon and Chimera, the two viruses. Somehow one of the viruses that these scientists were working on in this New Zealand lab mutated, and it's become very they somehow weaponized it.
Yeah.
The government want to use it to sort of strengthen their clandestine position or something. So there's this shadowy cabal group that want to basically weaponize it, right? The two scientists who are actually working on it, if I remember this correctly, now don't quote me on this, because I'm just doing it from recall, they rebel against that. So they want to sell it, or they want to give it to the American government so they can find a cure or something. The first scientist
we encounter who's working on the project is a character called Dr. Christine Rubin, and she's played by the actress Lisa Harrow. And she comes into contact with one of her colleagues who's the main head kind of scientist on it.
Like the project lead or something.
The project leader, yeah. And he's the one talking to the military and the New Zealand government, the shady government suits, basically. We'll call them suits in this. And he's saying that, they're here to see the virus, they're here to take it away. And then she's telling them, oh, wait, this guy just had a cold and now he's dead. What's going on? So there's something shady going on there in the story of the film.
In the meantime, the Shaker dudes are struggling basically with their Derby kind of stunt show. So originally they were gearing up for this jump over a couple of junk cars, but the car kept losing power.
Yeah.
So they needed to find out what's going on. Is it the fuel injection? Is it whatever? And they figure out, right?
Yeah.
So
they
want to basically invite people down. So they're going around prospecting customers and stuff. And somehow they kind of collide with the project lead. They have this wicked kind of little chase.
They run into the two scientists after they've been boinking together and having some fun, and then they go out for a drive.
Who's boinking? The scientists?
The two scientists.
So the two scientists are actually in a relationship.
They're in a supposed relationship.
Yeah, and that guy's got a really nice E-Type,
and
like
he has
a classic
this
E-Type.
lovely 60s red E-Type Jag.
The one that directly competed with the DB5, isn't it?
And that car looks really nice in the
film.
Both
really beautiful cars, man.
And then there's a scene where Judd and Casey, I think, are going out for evening drinks or something. or it's in the morning. I can't quite remember if it's in the morning or the evening.
Do you think the E-Type's a better looking car or the James Bond DB5? The Sean Connery DB5.
They're both really nice cars. It's very subjective.
The fixtures and finishes on those cars back then were very beautiful.
What you saw first and how that car affected your excitement for cars, but because obviously I saw the DB5 first because of Bond and actually seeing the car when I was younger, I'd favour the DB5, but the E-Type is still a lovely car.
This is Jaguar in their pure days when they were very high end.
Iconic cars.
This is not the Jaguar we're talking about now. This is like the Jaguar that
in the heyday.
Yeah, in the heyday when they were in their prime.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Talking about cars, because we don't talk about cars. You know a lot about cars, bro. I'm just gonna segue a little bit away from the film for a second. What is the major difference between the DB6 and the DB5? Because I know that people buy the DB6. Was it a larger version of the car? Was it? Was it a retrofit?
The only thing they slightly changed is I think they upgraded the engine a little bit, added a little bit more power, and it's very freaking subtle, the changes between the 5
So
and
if
the
I
6.
owned a 6, would it be as bad? Would it be worse than owning a 5?
The 6 has slightly better interior fitments and tech and stuff.
So a slight
for
facelift.
its time and stuff.
Yeah. But did they just numerically go up in numbers, or was it a completely different class of car? So you could buy the 5 and the 6 at the same time?
No, because they're all considered GT cars.
Okay.
At that time when they made them.
Yeah.
And
so this was the sort of rush of early Gran Turismo.
They just kind of made it a bit better, made it a bit more pricier, and sold it off. Really.
Going back to some other movie trivia, the Thorndike Special. Yeah. The Thorndike Special in Herbie Wright. Is it Herbie? The Love Bug, sorry.
The Love Bug.
So the Love Bug's a classic movie that we'll definitely do a pod on. I have
that's another good 60s
a lot
film.
of fondness for it.
Classic 60s.
Is the Thorndike Special a Jaguar?
No, it's not. People incorrectly call it a Jaguar, but I can check. I can find out on the car database what car it is. I believe the Thorndike Special was a mishmash of 2 cars, and I can't remember if it was some sort of Lister or a Jag or another car, it's another obscure British brand. And it's actually like a kit car.
Oh, is it?
And it has some other bits, like a Jag V8 or some sort of V8 in it. And that's what made it that car.
Shaker's very similar, isn't it? It's a Pontiac body frame, but it's got some kind of Chevy V8 or something, right?
Well, it's obviously like a Pontiac Trans Am, but it's got these weird rally headlights on the front, and it's got a massive bull bar.
Yeah.
It's got a roll cage, because you can see the roll cage when in the later scenes in the film. The way they're all sitting in the car, it's a bit cramped.
Race shifter as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's got a sequential shifter on it, and
the rear compartment's strange too. He's not actually sitting in a chair. He tends to be laying down, which means that they've just put a bench there.
There's like a bench
or something, and he must
no
be.
Back seats.
He's a trooper though, man, to be able to take that for such a long
journey,
long trip, because he's sacrificing his seat for the other lady.
Yeah.
So
then we go on to talk about the stunt show, and then how they...
So I love that bit. I love the bit where he builds up the speed and he does the jump, and then they time the pyrotechnics so it looks like his car blows up, but it's not. It's like just to kind of create the spectacle, you know. And I always love this stuff. You know, I'm a real purist
it's like
for
that vintage stunt master.
Yeah, I'm a purist for these old school stunts. I have huge respect for stunt people, man.
Absolutely.
Because stunt people, they had the Taurus Awards and these other things, these other events. I don't feel that stunt people get enough recognition for how much they risk their lives to do stuff. I mean, I remember when they did there was a Resident Evil film where a woman lost her arm.
Yeah, that was horrible. That's really bad.
She got really badly hurt crashing into a mobile.
She had a crash
thing,
she crashed a motorbike into a truck or something. She was doubling for Miller.
Yeah, she was doing
and
Miller.
She unfortunately had to get her arm amputated.
She lost her arm
horrible.
And stuff.
So they put a lot on the line when they're doing stunts like that, especially vehicular stunts, and stunts when they have to jump off things, like off buildings or off planes, or parachuting and shit like that. That's extreme stunts, man. That are amazing.
I mean people have died.
Like the stuff that Tom Cruise does.
Yeah, and Tom even does wicked stuff. I feel that they should distinctly have a category for best stunts in all kinds of film categories.
Absolutely.
Hell, if I ever get the resources, I'm just going to launch my own prestigious stunt awards, man, because stuntmen deserve it. They should just get the, like, I don't know, we should call them the Valiant Awards or something like that, or I don't know, I'll figure some name out for it. Like the T.O.R Stunt Awards, because people are just so skilled. Like Jackie Chan himself, and other people should just get like lifetime achievement awards for the amount of sacrifice of their bodies to entertain people that they do. And it's not like people will kind of criticize and say that these guys, why are they risking their bodies to entertain people? But that's the hunger that they have to create something new, and that's what makes films so amazing.
But also at the same time, they have to be passionate about it.
Shaker, Mad Max, like all these kind of films that I love have the physical essence.
This film has a bit of that feel as well, like Mad Max. Remember, like the early Mad Max,
like the early
Gibson
Mad Max
films, because the first Mad Max is really Aussie feeling, like really cheap and really simple.
And originally, in the original Mad Max trilogy, there was some civilization still around. The wars hadn't happened yet. The wars of gasoline wars and things. So it's just
it'd be interesting to see
that,
isn't it,
at that point,
how that happened. And there's no explanation. You just go from civilization to dystopia.
I showed a little bit of resistance initially when I heard Mad Max was being rebooted with Tom Hardy. Like, not really rebooted, but just as like a different tale.
Yeah.
I was very...
skeptical.
Not very skeptical. I'm just like, I like Mel Gibson as an actor.
Yeah.
I know he's done some stuff, and said some stuff that he didn't need to say. But people say shit all the time, like when they're in like moods and stuff. Like, human beings make mistakes. For me, I've always thought of, like, he's just a brilliant actor.
He is.
And an amazing director.
Actor,
and I would love to work with him and just meet with him and just, get his thoughts on film, and I'm sure he's like going to be a really cool guy. Going back to his stuff, like with Mad Max and Shaker Run, there's an old school kind of, I don't know what to say, but like a ballisticness to the filmmaking. It's very fast,
kinetic.
It's tight, it's kinetic. Kinetic is another great term. Shaker has that. Shaker's really good at that, and
there are some slow bits, but that's just to progress the story along.
Yeah, there's a bit when they go to the club. There's a bit when they meet some ladies and they get some, and then they meet the lady again after the stunt show. But then she hires them, and then a whole bunch of wicked car chases happen. So Z, tell us about these things.
Yeah, so we kind of get thrust into the story. That's when the film, in my opinion, starts to get going, because obviously you've got to lay down the exposition and the whole story for the film at the start. So you've got to establish who they are and establish who this lady is and how they're going to connect. So then the Dr. Rubin and Judd and Casey, she talks to them in their little caravan kind of hut thing. And she says, "Listen, I'm going to pay you X amount of money. Can you take me to this place?" And he's Cliff's character, Judd, he's like, "Lady, what are you talking about?" with his like really thick American accent. And he's like, "We ain't driving nowhere." And then they kind of leave her dry a bit in it and say, "Well, think about it" and stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously they're in a situation, they're in a predicament where they're desperate for money.
Yeah.
So they later on accept the job, and then they go and get her. So they go pick her up somewhere in the middle of New Zealand somewhere. And they start going on this massive, it's essentially like a road trip, but it's an extreme road trip,
like cross country.
They
need to get on some kind of boat, right?
Yeah. So first of all, they need to go and rendezvous with her contact, which is obviously her boyfriend or something at that time, that project leader.
Yeah.
And they're going to see him, but what they don't quite know is that it's like a trap. So they go to this massive quarry. And they're slowly driving down at night, and there's some night photography. So when you watch this film on VHS, the night photography isn't very good, so you can't see anything. So literally you're just looking at the lights of the Pontiac, and they're trying to go down this ravine. And then they go down this ravine, and it's very reminiscent of other films like Tango and Cash. And if people have seen Tango and Cash, you know that the epic end scene with the amazing budget and amazing pyrotechnics and stuff is really good.
They take on that bad guys, like, I was still kind of like, I've always found that bit confusing. They've got this battle van, which is really cool.
Battle Jeep, I call it.
It's very like James Bondy. And then they have this huge wicked cannon on the side.
It's like a Gatling gun.
I think he's using a Calico, one of those
Yeah,
futuristic looking submachine guns and stuff like that. And they're doing all this stuff.
It's like larger than life it becomes.
But they're fighting this quarry, and the quarry's got all their own cars and stuff.
All those construction vehicles.
Yeah, there's all these construction vehicles that they're taking out. That is just such a crazy kind of like final act of that film.
We don't want to compare it to that because that's obviously a very big budget film compared to Shaker Run. Man. And going back to Shaker Run, they go to this quarry, but then they get ambushed by the New Zealand government suits.
Yeah.
And then the guy comes out, that Oriental guy. So basically, the Oriental guy comes and he tries to shoot them, and then they just leg it in the Pontiac, and they start going, and then we start hearing a little bit of the soundtrack of the film. And it sounds really cool. It sounds very like retro wavy, synth wavy, proper 80s synth.
We love 80s,
with the guitar. And it sounds so cool, the soundtrack of this film.
Yeah.
And then they just take off, and then it starts to become this proper actiony road race kind of film, full of driving scenes. And there's some shots where they're going through some like Wellington countryside or Wellington mountains, and there's some lovely tracking shots of the Pontiac. And there's this nice scene that I love is the Judd is like he's like driving, and they're like it's like set during the winter times. It's quite cold, and they're all sitting in the car and they're all feeling cold. And she's wearing a scarf and she's got a little fuzzy jacket on.
He's got that nice fleece.
He's wearing his nice fleece jacket with his hat on, and he's literally pelting it, like top speeding it in the Pontiac down these lovely New Zealand Wellington roads in the countryside. And just that sequence is really cool because there's some nice shots on the bonnet cam. There's some wicked wide tracking shots and helicopter shots that they obviously at that time they didn't have any drones or anything like that. They obviously had to do shots via helicopter to get kind of vehicle tracking done. So that's a nice little sequence where you can see what kind of character Judd is, that he's this recluse, he's an awesome driver, he's a bit of a cowboy, very reminiscent of Burt Reynolds' character in Smokey and the Bandit, but a bit different because he's a bit more wary, he's a bit more older, and he's got this swagger about him, doesn't he, bruv? And that's what's cool.
What I'm saying. He's got this old school swagger about him, and this kind of like just presence, like when driving, he's very switched on, he's very on it, he's got the skill.
Tell people about that wicked sequence in the little city part.
So there's a bit where
before we get into don't do the boat bit, the city bit.
So we're talking about the bit where they set up the roadblock, right?
Yeah. So they're driving slowly through this little city part.
Yeah, they found out basically where they're gonna be, so they set up this huge roadblock. And then they spot it before they get caught, and then that's when they try to get them and do stuff.
They start getting tailed in it by some black car, and they're like, "Who's this? Who's tailing us?"
Yeah, exactly. And then they escape that.
And then they go through that warehouse.
Yeah.
And it's very reminiscent of those classic Jackie Chan films like Armor of God 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Where they had those awesome stunt driving sequences by Remy Julien and his son.
Yeah, Remy Julien
and his whole team, and it's very reminiscent of that because whoever the stunt team are on this film. I don't know who you guys are, but you guys did a fucking amazing job in this film. Yeah. We'll figure out who that may be.
If I remember correctly, one of the reasons why they got betrayed in the quarry is because they tortured the love interest. They tortured
that's
him,
a good point.
I
forgot about to say about
something
that.
to kind of get him to give
up.
There's
a scene where they track down her boyfriend and they torture him with the gun, and then he has like, what kind of gun does he have?
I don't know, he has some like little looking kind of Walter looking weird
it's
gun.
It's like a Walter or PP but with a really long extender silencer or barrel.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure what it is. Yeah, I know he has a 357 Magnum as well, but he had some other kind of silence weapon.
Right. Yeah. And then I think he kills him, right?
Yeah.
So she finds out that he's dead.
Yeah.
By like taking a phone call on the pier somewhere.
I think the other agent.
So they go to some pier and they try to get in touch with him and say, "Why did you screw us at the quarry?" Blah blah blah. And she's like, "No, he's dead," or something. She finds out that he's dead, and then they've just got to go on the run now. They got no other choice but to go somewhere to Plan B.
Yeah, because they chase her and she's like telling him, he's been taken out and they gotta go, and then they get chased in the city.
So then there's that wicked sequence. Tell them about the bit where he jumps over the fence and
the
then
guy's
they break
got
through
like
the
a
car.
massive 357 Magnum because he tries to cannon her.
Okay.
He tries to cannon her in the car, and in the city. And this is like the mini city before they end up with the roadblock city. He just intercepts them and he fires his cannon. He takes out one of the racing lights.
Oh,
he takes out one of the racing lights.
The car gets damaged.
Yeah, but then because she's kind of in a bit of a depression and kind of shock, and he's like getting them out of the city, and these guys are chasing them and chasing them and chasing them, and then they hide out in this cabin kind of area. Then they get intercepted in the cabin. They get sort of discovered, and then that's when she kind of lets it slip to them and is very honest with them, saying that, look, there's a fucking virus.
Yeah.
You know, like, you gotta help me and shit, and we gotta make this happen and stuff. That's when they set up the roadblock, because the government and the government trying to make it look like they're trying to steal this virus. You know, like they're deadly, or they're trying to steal some government secrets or something. So it's very, very sneaky.
Doesn't sound too different from real life.
Yeah, and then basically he's like, yo, I'm gonna do this, and that's the wicked bit when they go through the city.
Yeah.
And then the Asian dude, the Asian spook, chases them, and then that's when he does the parkour.
Yeah.
So he does parkour.
That's when we first saw that. I was like, this is cool.
See parkour
this
and
dude's
some
like
guy.
He's
jumping around. He's rolling over
he kick
stuff.
That dude on the bike. Like
he does. He kicks a cop off. No, he pulls the cop off his helmet. You know,
he yoinks him.
Yeah.
Like,
so
like
he yoinks him.
Style.
There's also this funny scene where this guy's eating a sandwich and he's got all these boxes and the car smashes through the boxes while he's in the middle of his lunch.
But it looks so staged.
Yeah,
like,
there's
the boxes are perfectly
there's a lot of stunt gags like that are very 90s.
Yeah, like that ladder dude. The ladder dude.
Well, the funniest thing though is the way he takes out the guy on the bike, because the guy on the bike is ready to take the tumble. Yeah, but he just kind of gets his helmet taken off and he's like, oh, I've lost my power and skill. I cannot ride no more. I cannot ride. I fell asleep. And then he falls asleep, and then the other guy, and then he chases him, and then he does a lot of work like chasing him, and then he does a kind of jump to follow Shaker. There's like a mini jump that Shaker does. There's another car that gets taken out near a railroad track or kind of harbour area, but the dirt is like uneven, so he slips.
Slippery.
He low sides the bike.
Yeah.
So when he low sides the bike,
it looks like an old Honda or Yamaha
something. I'm not really too sure what the bike is, because there's a massive explosion in that bit. There's some drum, like oil drums and stuff that blow up, and you can actually see the explosion
like
all the way in the background while they're driving away, which is really wicked. And they're trying to basically get out of the city.
I love those kind
of helicopters are mobilizing to chase them. You got these kind of like stormtrooper looking dudes that work for the government. He gets sort of helicoptered or something like that to a point. They hide in this shipping yard, you know, where there's all these shipping containers.
Yeah, that's
so the
cool.
police try to get them. Then
I love films, that have shipping containers and ships and ports in it. It works in Iron Man 3. It works in Knockoff. Knockoff is a great film to demonstrate that. How good a ship and port. Just the thing is that the difficulty logistically of working in that thing, because it's a heavy, busy
place. There was
place.
also a shipping container finale kind of thing in the A-Team movie as well.
Oh, that was rubbish.
That wasn't well done.
That was badly done.
Those kind of shipping container scenes and those kind of environments visually look very good.
Yeah, they looked amazing. Yeah. So then what happens after that?
So they're resting on the boat, but then somehow they find out that they're on the boat. So when they're reaching the next town, that they were supposed to ferry across. The crew tried to apprehend them. The crew tried to stop them. And
don't they lock them up in a room or something?
They lock them in their room. But then they have to break out. Because they tricked them. The guy's
he's
just
like, listen, Judge, this wall, it's like soft.
Yeah, and then they smash through. Yeah, and he's like, we're gonna have to smash through the wall or something.
And then I remember that bit. So he's like, Casey, break through that wall.
Yeah, Casey breaks through it, and then they beat the dude up, the security dude, and so they found out that basically was a false mirror, a false paper, the picture, so they could kick through it. Then they know that basically the government's gonna basically clamp down the boat. The boat's getting clamped up, but they escape. So they beat some people up. The crew. They get in Shaker, and that's when they floor it. And then Shaker jumps out of the boat when the boat was approaching the thing.
Is what I remember the most out of this film. Always,
it's such a wicked bit, that jump,
because he literally just jumps the ramp, and it's being staged in a certain way so that he can make enough distance.
Yeah,
the ferry isn't completely to the dock. And there's a gap of maybe about 50 meters or more.
That is an insane jump. And that's like, I don't even know if that was with NOS.
No,
I think that was naturally aspirated jump.
Back in the day when you
just
didn't
pure
have
power.
NOS.
And then also on top of that, he does.
But
the
there's
jump.
that guy. The way they cut it, everybody's like looking like.
I was wondering if that was the director having a cameo, but he's like, what? Oh,
he's clearly swearing, but they've cut out the F.
Okay, because what the fuck is that?
So he looks like he's like, it looks like it's a weird pickup because he's like looking at something else, and they've just used it in the edit.
Man, I gotta see this
to make it look like
bro.
it. So it's like
it's
the car just pelts it over, and it does some hard landing.
And also it's so heavy, the car, that it jumps, makes some air, but immediately gravity starts to take over. So the chassis, twists. Twists a little bit, and then it hits the ground and bounces, and then with full power flooring that stuntman, whoever that G is, that guy, he just bolts it, and then the guys time it. The dudes who are chasing them, like, oh, we gotta shoot him. Yeah. So then they chase him and start shooting, and the little pips go off.
That guy, Mr. Carney, he gets in a ugly Bedford-looking van pickup.
I know. Shit. I don't know what the hell that is.
It's all blacked out.
Is that one of those dog kennel cars?
The production team have blacked out all the cars, all the villain cars. So they're like nasty black wheels,
sick tunnel work,
black tints, and then they do this wicked tunnel work.
There's a tunnel chase.
And I figured out that that's actually like downtown Wellington.
Oh, is it?
So that's the main Wellington area.
Right.
Where they go through. Man. So all those tunnels and all those roads are twisting and interconnecting.
Nice looking, man.
And he's like, he says something funny, Judd. He's like, I don't know where the hell I am.
Yeah, he
where
gets
are
lost.
We going?
He's like lost.
He's like lost in Wellington.
He's trying to figure out
where
to go.
We gotta go this way. We gotta head east to do something. She's
they have to basically get the hell out.
He's like, I don't know where the hell I'm going. I gotta get out of this bloody place.
I'm surprised he hasn't run out of fuel, man. This car's thirsty.
It is.
They almost kill a priest too, man. The priest is trying to get in his car, and the door gets taken out, man.
He's like in a really old shitty Austin.
Yeah, and his door got taken out.
And his door gets like
and he just goes
to shit.
He just goes, Lord Almighty. This is the cross, The Holden bit or whatever. Talk to me about this because this is your most favorite bit because it comes up after that. They drift around the corner.
Lovely Capri.
Yeah, they go around the corner, right, and then the car fails to take a turn or something, right? So the bad guys wipe out right in front of that car dealership. Because their car's so shit. They hit a beetle. They hit a beetle, and the beetle. So funny. Yeah, check this out. They hit Herbie, and Herbie ain't having none of it.
The best scene in the film. Yeah, one of the best scenes. Yeah, because there's so many hidden cars that are iconic, like the Beetle. Yeah, that crappy Bedford truck, the Trans Am, the Capri. Yeah. There's like so many things.
What's the signature vehicle? But Herbie wasn't having none of it. He was on holiday and the guy bumped him and he's like, fuck you dudes, man. Yeah. And then the guy got taken out.
So like Judd comes into this kind of made promenade area.
Like a downtown
area. And he does a U-turn and then he spins.
And these guys took a proper slide.
The dealer and the customer are staring at the Trans Am shaking and they're like, what's going on?
Yeah, and then this crash. The
Asian guy crashes and he tips over the thing.
Guy.
They do this.
What's the name of the Asian spook guy? What's his name?
Mr. Carney.
Mr. Carney.
And they're sliding on the roof, innit? It slides on the roof.
He looks like an agent before an agent was invented.
It's true, yeah.
He's got the gloves, he's got the suit.
Very kind of agent-y
Yeah, he's got that massive gun, and he's like, get away. He's telling everyone to go away, and there's a lovely track shot. And then the guy says, what happened? And he pushes him out the way. And
no, what's so funny is before that, everybody's like running to the car and it's like, oh, help him.
Yeah.
And the guy, he pushes the guy, like, he grabs the guy like this and he's like pushing him.
Yeah, he's like, get him out of the way.
Get out of the way.
I want to play the soundbite.
He's got a gun.
Yeah, he's got a gun, mate. He's got a gun. Get out of the way, mate. But the other guy, like,
what happened? That's the customer he pushes. He doesn't push the dealer guy. I thought he pushed the dealer guy.
I thought he pushed the dealer guy.
No. He's like the customer goes, what happened?
Oh, and he pushes the guy.
To give him a hug.
Yeah, he's like, you're right. He's like, go away.
Pushes him. And he's like, ah!
So we have I want to play the soundbite. Let me find the clip, man.
And then he says this iconic line. He's like, give me the keys.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the guy gives him the keys. Then he gets into this.
I will never forget that line because we always talk about that line.
Yeah, always.
Like it's always a meme for me and you.
Always. It's a classic meme. It's like when you need a car, off your parents, and you got time. He's like, give me the keys.
He gets up like a Terminator.
Yeah, he's like a Terminator.
Yeah,
proper.
Here's a bit. Here's a soundbite. I found it.
Give me the keys. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the other bit.
Drive carefully.
And the sound that car makes is thunderous, bro. What is in that? What is in that car? What is it? A
so
V12
basically,
or what?
This is a custom racing car that was bought for the film for Shaker
Wow, number 8 it has an 8 symbol on it.
You know what they did? It was
gold liveries.
It was originally a racing car, and it didn't have that livery, from what I understand. The production team retrofitted the car.
It is
like
so
they made
fast.
the fiberglass body kit for it,
And the guy went flat out.
They added wheels to it. They added all the mods to it, the lights, the exhaust.
They got a good budget because they smashed the shit out of these shops.
Yeah. And then this Ford Capri is iconic for me because it made me realize about like V8 muscle cars from Aussie land and stuff. Because the Capri looks slightly different to the Capris we have in the UK. We're used to Capris here, but they don't act like V8s, or they didn't have those kind of power plants. Maybe later on, tuners and modders would modify cars to have those kind of power plants. Yeah. But the Capris here never had that. So it's more like an Aussie V8, New Zealand V8 kind of.
Because I noticed that with Holden as well. Like Holden's very big, and Kiwi and Australian stuff, but that's not here.
It's not here.
We don't see many of them here.
Holden, Commodore Fords, Ford Falcons, and those kind of things. So this Ford Capri, it just, when he fires that car up, it sounds godlike and amazing. And then they do this setup stunt where he smashes through the dealer window. Yeah. Breaks the frame, and the frame clips on the car's wheels. Then he does a kind of like a spin out of the dealership. He just
flat out
and then flat out floors it. But you can see in the background that the whole Kiwi crowd are
just watching it and enjoying that.
And he does the stunt in one go. It's amazing. So like there's a slow-mo a ramped cam that's taking the pickup shot of the car smashing through the window. Then there's a faster shot of the car speeding off down the road and taking the corner.
The film was made when I was born. Yeah, it was made in 1986. I was just reading about it.
And then cut to the awesome mountain pass chase.
Oh, that bit's wicked. The hill bit's
That's not in the same place. Like cuts to two different places.
So they've gone out into the country. They've escaped the city
into the mountain.
Because he's chasing them hardcore, and he can catch up with them, which means his car is really powerful, and it's lighter than Shaker's car. Yeah, which is why he's able to keep up with them, because he comes right behind them.
Only one person in the car, and you can see him. He's like driving.
And he's
short shifting.
He's doing good.
And he's legging it in the Capri.
Because he gets to a point where he gets alongside them, and they start bumping each other and rubbing. And when they rub with each other, he gets off a shot, and it takes out Judd's shoulder.
Oh shit!
So Cliff Robertson gets blown in the shoulder. His shoulder gets blown out, and then he loses a little bit.
That's gonna hurt because it's a fat
and then his arm starts to get weak, so he can't drive no more because of his loss of blood. So that's when his protege takes over. But
that switched there.
No, not straight away. They switch after, because he's like, I've been hit. You need to do something. And then he finds these cans of oil that look like hairspray.
They're like little tin cans.
Yeah, they look like little tin cans of oil, and they pierce them, and then they throw them onto the car, and he can't wipe them away. So so
he chucks a few.
And
hits the windscreen of the Capri, and he's like,
and then the spook guy loses control. But he crashes in such a stupid way. He just goes into a bunch of rocks and destroys his front axle.
He goes into the cliffside.
Yeah, but he just takes out...
And
he doesn't even violently crash the car.
The front axle.
I think maybe that was an excuse for them not to damage that show car, because they probably wanted to show it at shows to promote the film. Yeah. So they end up making it look like it fakely got damaged. Yeah. Like remove the axle and made it look
and then
like...
he hobbles out. And
but he's badly hurt. Like, he's super hurt. He even fires a shot,
and he's
like instinctively.
Bleeding in the head.
Yeah, he's bleeding in the head. He's like really hurt, because this car doesn't have any kind of body... like he wasn't wearing any kind of protective clothing. So it's safe to say that when he crashed, he got a shock to his chest. He probably damaged his lungs.
No airbags or nothing.
Yeah, no airbags. So he's like in some kind of weird,
we don't know if he's wearing
delirious daze. Yeah, he didn't have a seatbelt. It looked like the car didn't even look like it had anything. But he ends up getting taken out by this truck. Yeah. Like I think it's a
funny.
I think it's a bed truck, like a truck that's taking a bed or something.
Yeah, no, it's like a big groceries truck or something.
And the way he gets taken out, it's so funny. He gets grilled by the car.
Yeah, he's like, and
his shoe gets left behind.
And then what you see is his shoe.
His shoe.
His
shoe is all that remains.
Impossible 3.
Yeah. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same Mission Impossible 3, the way the rabbit foot guy dies.
Philip Seymour.
Philip Seymour was a great actor, mate.
What a legend.
Yeah, he was wasted in that at the end, though. Yeah.
So then, obviously, Judd is now hurt and he's in pain. Yeah. So they go and retreat to some little countryside cabin.
That's when they swap.
Try to heal
have to help him, innit?
His arm. But they had to take the bullet out, innit? Or something. I can't quite remember if they had to take the bullet out or not.
Yeah. People pick up films like Drive and stuff, which have wicked cinematography. and stuff like that. But this film, man, if we could
restore
if I restore the color of this film, this is 50 times a better car movie than that is, because that's not actually a car movie.
No, it's not.
That's just a thriller, like an arty
just a thriller with car chases.
Yeah,
but even to be honest, the car chases are not.
I was seriously misled when I heard about that film, because I like Luke. Yeah. This guy, what's his name? Ryan Gosling. I called him Luke for some reason. I mixed the two up. But Ryan Gosling's a wicked actor. I liked him since Young Hercules, right?
Of course, yeah.
And I really love the fucking cinematography in that film, and the bit when he's threatening the guy in the strip club with the bullet. He's like, I'm gonna hammer this bullet into your head. Yeah. That tension was sick in that scene. But there's no wicked chase scene at the end.
No, it's lame.
There's no wicked kind of stunt scene,
in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's not.
And then he just gets kind of sliced by the knife guy.
People incorrectly in media and journalism rate that as a good car film. It is not a fucking good car film. I'm gonna say there are tens of thousands of other better car films like Shake or Run, for example. Obviously, you can't compare it to Shake or Run because they're two different eras.
Let me ask you a question. You know, like if we as a team got a chance to do things, could we take something like Hal Needham's old film, like Smokey and the Bandit? Is there a way for us to actually make that work in current climate? How could we do it?
Possibly. You could do it in a different way. But the thing is that this is very reminiscent of those kind of films as well, but it's just got an Aussie and Kiwi flavour to it. It's not so much... The American connection is there with Cliff Robertson's character and Casey's character. I don't know if the Dr. Rubin's character is supposed to be American or not, because she sounds fairly Aussie to me.
Yeah, I think she's Kiwi or British.
Yeah, she could be British or Australian actress, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, possibly, definitely we could do something with that. But then, so they switch, isn't it, bruv?
He has to take over for the final lap.
So who's driving now then?
So the protege drives.
Casey.
Yeah, he's the one who belts it out, because even the bad guy now, the other heavy, the main dude, the guy after his boy got killed.
English guy.
Yeah, so the dude with the Partridge Family kind of haircut, right? That dude, he's taking them out. He's trying to shoot them with the 357.
He's pissed off now.
Yeah, and Casey's hurt as well on his face, because when he burst through, something blew up or something. He got splinters on his face and stuff.
Yeah. So now he's getting like deep.
Yeah, and the government have got this helicopter and they want to airlift her out, but she's smart.
Aren't they like traveling up the mountain now?
Yeah,
and
for the air extraction.
This ravine part.
Yeah, because the helicopter found them, and then she's smart. She basically, she basically does it so that the helicopter clamps the chain onto the car, and she's like, you guys are gonna have to take us all, and he's like, oh, we can't really take the thing, and then the car flies off the mountain, and then they copied that in
Need for Speed.
Need for Speed. So Scott Weill
but Need for Speed is kind of cheeky because it's like a dumbed down version of it. You know, like where they exaggerate. Oh, look at my eyes! How blue are my eyes? She's like,
oh god, that bit is crap.
It's very cringy when you look at it again.
I love all the Mustang bits.
No, like the Chinook is cool.
Yeah.
The helicopter's cool.
Yeah.
And the Mustang is cool.
Yeah.
And when it goes off the cliff, it actually goes off the cliff and they chain it.
Yeah.
And then when they drop it off
some
on
of the
salt
car
flats,
scenes in
remember
that
when
film
they drop
are good,
the car
man.
back on the salt flats, it's a real car.
So some of the bits
but
in that
in
film
this
are
film,
wicked.
it feels even more realistic because the car is like kind of like, you know, a racing car. It's a bit different.
And they made that weird poor excuse that this was supposed to be Carroll Shelby's final Mustang that he was personally working on with the holographic things. Is that real?
No, that car's just custom for the film.
Yeah, but is that a real story?
No, it's not a real story.
Okay, so that's a fake story for the film, and their reality.
Yeah.
Because even the Koenigsegg scenes are quite good, where they're racing the Koenigsegg's, and then they have that race, and then the other guy dies.
The race of the three Koenigseggs is really nice.
Yeah, apart from the bit when the guy dies.
Even though they're not real Koenigseggs.
Yeah, they're shells, aren't they?
They're like shells.
Yeah.
But they look wicked. They still look like real.
How much of that? How much? We should definitely do a Need for Speed podcast and just kind of delve into that film a bit. But how much of the films are shells? Like, how much of the cars in those films are shells? Is that Lambo also?
I'd say
I think
almost 70 to 80% of the cars are shells, or like custom kit jobs, because you cannot crash. You cannot crash a P1 like that, or a Sister Elemento, or a Bugatti Veyron like that. So all those three cars that are the most expensive in the film, they're all.
Do you like a Sister Elemento?
I like the Sister, but I think it's a bit ugly now.
I personally think the Sister Elemento
compared to newer Lamborghinis, it looks dated. You got so many new Lamborghinis like the Huracan.
Is the Sesto
the
Elemento
Sion,
a limited
the
edition
Aventador,
Gallardo?
Countach.
Is it based on the Gallardo's frame?
Yeah, at the time it was based off a Gallardo.
Okay.
A one-off Gallardo.
It was a one-off Gallardo, the
yeah,
Sesto Elemento.
special Gallardo, yeah.
Me personally, I like the F-22 Raptor looking car. Was it the Huracan?
Aventador.
The Aventador.
Yeah.
That's one of my
Aventador.
favorite looking Lambos of that generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they go off the cliff and they chain to the helicopter and then
The bad guys just go flying off and die.
Oh, so
Yeah.
they're stupid. They
They
fall
never
to their
slow
death.
down and they just fell together. He was still trying to shoot him
breaks
when it
down.
happened. He
Huh?
just fell. He was still trying to shoot him when he fell to his death.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's like he didn't realize
That's
it.
so funny.
Yeah, they just.
And they're just laughing at him as he falls to his death or some shit.
I don't know, but they're just laughing that they made it, and then
Yeah.
that's it. And then the end credits roll while the helicopter's still airlifting the car.
So that's kind of cool. So we don't really see what
Yeah,
happened. We
yeah.
just assume they
Yeah,
got to safety.
yeah. But if I could personally not redo Shaker Run, I could do a sequel to Shaker Run, like just as a Netflix special. Relaunch this Shaker Run, but get another guy because Cliff Robertson sadly passed away.
Yeah.
And if things not interested in playing the character,
Leif
Garrett, I could get a new guy to play him. So so the Shaker characters are still there, but they've been recast.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's basically set maybe 13, 14 years after the original film. So I make it still in the 80s or the 90s.
Yeah,
and Shaker still exists, but he has to do something else
Yeah.
after what he did. He has
But
to
the
do
thing
this
is,
new thing.
you could kind of recreate some old scenes from this film.
Yeah.
And give it that feel.
I want to
Back
give it that
in
old school
Wellington,
look, man. That was sick, man.
You know, and then have like a stunt double do
It'd be
his,
so
his
cool.
bits.
Because I got this idea of this group of people, they're smuggling some kid, you know, and they got the kid in some kind of stasis, and it could be the same kind of thing. Like he's got some
It's
antidote in him or
also
something.
this film is also a precursor to, I would say, the Transporter films,
Yeah.
the Transporter trilogy.
Yeah.
Because the first film, he's transporting a lady. The
I
second
definitely
film
wanna
has
delve
that,
into
that
the Transporter
you know that gag
franchise.
about the virus with the little boy.
Yeah.
And then the third film is about that bracelet with the
'Cause they want to
with
infect
the
him.
time bomb in it. So all those little three ideas are being fleshed out into three films. Are just what this one film was about.
The third Transporters is shit.
Yeah, but it has good carbon.
The second one's good by Louis Leterrier.
Yeah, and the series is good too.
I like the series. I thought the series was underrated.
Yeah,
man.
it's very underrated.
The series
We
had a
should
good
review that on
cast
this.
and thing. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, Shaker
let's rate our lovely Shaker Run Aussie film, Kiwi film.
So for me, Shaker Run gets it gets 4 shields from me.
Okay, cool. That's good.
It gets 2 extra shields because of the nostalgia and the fondness I have for it. The competency of the film. The only thing that lets it down is the fact that I don't have a good transfer of the film to watch it.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
kind of truly appreciate it with its true cinematography.
Yeah.
It has that TV movie like terrible Betacam VHS
Yeah,
look
quality,
where
yeah.
where there's just no color. There's no
Yeah.
color volume. There's no nothing. So that lets it down because you can't see the pink of Shaker.
Yeah.
You can't see the
kind of scenery.
you can't see the detail.
Yeah,
you
the
know
detail,
that.
yeah.
So that's the only thing. What would you give it?
I would probably give it a 4 as well. Like a 3.5, 4. The only thing that slightly lets it down is the kind of like the slightly weak story, because like I would have liked to have seen more reason as to why the government want to use this virus, and a bit more of a kind of complete ending, because it kind of just ends with them flying off into the sunset.
I personally would have preferred it if they ran him over. That guy.
Yeah.
I want to Shaker to kill
Oh yeah,
him.
yeah.
Shaker
That
should have just taken, or they should have gone head on.
Yeah.
And the reinforced frame of the car just took out his car.
Took out his car.
Yeah, he's
that
just
would have
like,
been
and
kinda
he's just
cool.
like whooped, you know,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh,
He's like,
well, he got done by
broke
the
up.
virus.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
he has the canister of the virus.
They
but
injected it in him.
Yeah, and he's like, he gets done.
He
and he's like
dies.
dead. Yeah.
But yeah, it's an awesome film. I definitely would rate you guys check it out, because we love it, and it's definitely worth a lovely kind of like, you know, grab a drink or a beer or some snacks and watch it on a Sunday, and you'll just love it, because it's a great little action flick, and we would thoroughly recommend it on Thor.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. You're gonna watch this, but thanks for listening to this podcast. Like, subscribe, and check out some more stuff down the line. I'll see you guys on the next one.